I'd like to take a few minutes to chat with our panel. In addition to the gentleman who just spoke, we're joined by two other guests. One is Chris Klaus on the end there. Chris, he has a storied background in entrepreneurship, founded and led a company called Internet Security Systems in the 1990s, which ended up spawning an entire industry of internet security companies, exited for 1.3 billion in 2006, and has now turned his attentions to neuroscience. We're lucky to have him on board. I also have Dr. Blake Gurfein, who is a assistant professor at UCSF in San Francisco, and also the chief science officer of Rio Grande Neurosciences, which is doing incredible things with non-invasive neuromodulation. And I'd like to welcome all of you, gentlemen. And so, Dr. Gurfein, I'd like to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish?
Hi. So Rio Grande is a medical device company that is focused on addressing neurological conditions that have unmet treatment needs, and is really the first aggregator of non-invasive brain stimulation technologies in this space, which, as many of you know, is unfolding pretty rapidly right now. So the company currently has a portfolio with 3 different technologies. The first is a multi-coil RTMS, or repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation technology, that was just acquired from Cervell Neurotech. And this technology has been shown to address symptoms of major depression and also reduce chronic pain. The second technology is a radio frequency pulsed electromagnetic field device. This is a low energy device. It's battery operated. It has an FDA approval for another indication. And what we found is that repurposing this technology in the central nervous system generates anti-inflammatory effects in the brain and also can promote survival of neuronal cells when they're challenged. The third area is called TDCS, which you may have heard of, transcranial direct current stimulation. We have a development plan for creating a closed-loop transcranial direct current stimulation platform that will both measure via EEG and then stimulate the brain based upon the measurements that are recorded. That work is being focused on potential interventions for mild cognitive impairment, which is a precursor to dementia. So these research projects have really enfolded us into a number of research collaborations with Harvard, Stanford, UCSF, where I'm a faculty member, and UT Southwestern. This year we'll be starting clinical studies focused on the use of some of these stimulation approaches in acute concussion, post-concussion syndrome, progressive multiple sclerosis, and, as I mentioned, mild cognitive impairment. So we're currently raising $10 million in a Series A, and those funds will be put towards supporting our clinical research activities, our regulatory strategy, and our commercialization plan.
And I have a quick question for you, though. So, I think this is absolutely fascinating. My expertise is more in invasive neurotechnologies, but clearly, if you had to pick one, you'd rather non-invasive. So I think the future is very bright if these technologies, if the clinical data pans out. What do you see as the obstacles, and how are you solving those for adoption in the medical community, or perhaps is there a solution that is a consumer-oriented solution?
Right. So it's pretty multifaceted. One of the key developments that's happened in this area recently is that the FDA has really started to pivot in the direction of these non-invasive stimulation approaches, mostly because they've been shown to be very safe. So a lot of these emerging technologies using direct current, electromagnetism, low-level laser therapy is another one that's getting a lot of attention right now. The FDA has issued guidance suggesting that because of the safety profile and the application of these technologies in these areas of unmet needs, they're willing to fast-track some of these technologies. That only is part of the equation in terms of adoption. And I think watching what happens with the emerging TMS market and its use in intractable depression will help be a valuable study case for seeing what the pitfalls of using these electroceutical / electrotherapy approaches are.
I'd like to take it over to Jack with Intellimedics and ask you, as you look toward the future, go forward 6 to 12 months from now, where do you hope to be, and what opportunity are you most excited about with Intellimedics?
Well, what we're hoping for is further proof in the science. Dr. Skolnick has been working in this technology for many years, and this is the point where we are commercializing this product and taking it out on a clinical level on a pseudo wide-scale basis. And so in 6 to 12 months, we hope to have several hundred, if not more, cases like the Kytril example, where we have helped patients with treatment that they would not have otherwise had access to. That's really the hope.
So, Alex, we met last fall when you came into the program. Very impressed with your work at MIT. Came down to Atlanta to work with us. What would you say that you've learned during this year-long process of accelerating your startup, both through the NeuroLaunch program or through other means? What do you know now that you didn't know, and can you impart that wisdom to the companies that are just starting out?
Entrepreneurship is hard. No, I've been. I have to say, for us, it's been a good journey, and really thanks to you guys, because NeuroLaunch and the other mentors that we've met in Boston, here in San Francisco, have always been really helping us and really guiding us. We've been very fortunate to meet people that were really exactly targeted to what we needed. So if I can give a humble advice or piece of advice to entrepreneurs to be, then I would say really focus on people that are really at the edge of the technology that you are developing. And so you'll find people that will be extremely useful, people that won't be useful. Try to weed out and make sure that you retain the people that will mostly help you. And there are people out there, and really, again, we've been fortunate to find them, that will really put their time, and not necessarily for the financial reward, but really for the learning process. And they want to help you, and if you can find these people, then they'll take you on a ride and hopefully bound to success.
Fantastic. Well said. So, Chris Claus, question for you. So you've gathered a lot of experience over the years with startups and investing in startups. I know you interact with a lot of investors. And so when you talk to those folks and you look at companies coming through, what really excites you about neuroscience startups, and where do you think the core opportunities are in the future in the realm of neuroscience entrepreneurship?
Sure. Yeah, I think we're just now, with some of the patterns you're going to hear today in terms of what are the problems that are being solved, and I think we're really starting to get some fidelity of the tools to truly now, for the first time, understand what is the brain doing. I guess from a market opportunity, when I think of who's a target customer, well, the good news is there's about 7 billion people on the planet. Everybody has a brain, so there's a huge amount of value that could come out of this, right? And not only from a repairing of the brain or dealing with disease, there's still a lot of stuff occurring today. How do you enhance the brain? What are the ways to just really understand it? And ultimately, my own personal passion is understanding the brain, but also being applied from how does the brain learn, and that transcends into computer technology. One of the things that's happening in the computer science world is the merger of machine learning, and I think you're going to see more and more patterns that coming out of that on the how does the brain work, how does the computer learn, and those two areas kind of intersect in my mind of huge opportunities. So I think over the next 5 years, this is really being part of the ground floor of having lots of awareness created, lots of people starting to look at the brain and say, what are the new emerging solutions that could be billion-dollar companies? And I think we're going to continue to look out there and find these patterns emerging. And the good news is Jordan and Jim and the team, we all went out to San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and even talking to investors who weren't traditionally looking in the brain space. They've been doing most of their investing on the traditional high-tech space. A lot of them are starting for the first time doing investments in neuroscience. So there's almost this, and it's all within the last year or so. I think you're going to continue to see more of these funds, these venture funds or hedge funds, looking into this space as an area, especially where companies can show some growth. They're very excited about that. So I think this is a ripe and bright future.
Thank you all. Thank you to our panelists. Give them a round of applause.